Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to our 182nd Reading Sports Economics Seminar, hosted by the University of Reading and kindly sponsored by the Sports Economics Review. Today we have Mikhail Usanin presenting Home Advantage in eSports, the case of Counter-Strike. Just as we get going, as mentioned in the reminder, I am migrating from Twitter, where I've been posting lots of information about these talks, to Blue Sky. I'm not sure how much longer I will necessarily share the information in both places. And there is also a growing sports economics community on Blue Sky as well. A couple of links in the update that you can follow to get yourself going there if you want to. And there's also a WhatsApp group if you want to keep in touch with other economists with an interest in sport. Mikhail would like to park questions for discussion to the end of his talk, but he's happy to have questions for clarification as he goes along. Mikhail, you've got up to an hour, and then we'll still have lots of time for Q&A at the end. So the floor is yours. Please do take away your talk.
Okay, thank you. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Do you see my presentation?
Yep.
Is slide switches?
Yep, we got everything. Yep.
Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. A huge thanks to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Mikhail Usanin, and I'm excited to present a study conducted in collaboration with my colleagues, Yulia Naidenova and Pyotr Parshakov. The topic of our research is the investigation of the home advantage in esports, and we use Counter-Strike as an example. To begin, I'd like to share a brief video. I hope it will be displayed. Do you see something?
Yep. There's no sound though, is that okay?
Yeah, it was a short video with highlights with key moments from Studio from Studio 2K's gameplay, showcasing of his reaction and interaction with the crowd, as well as his ability to manage and engage the audience. Not only for Stewie, the Studio 2K is not the only player for whom audience interaction is crucial. For example, Fallen, a legend of Brazilian CS scene, emphasized in a recent interview that it's very important for him to perform on home soil. He is highly motivated to please his fans and deliver his best performance. Such examples like Fallen or Studio 2K inspired me and my co-authors to study the home advantage phenomenon in esports. Let me share more about our motivation to explore this topic. According to the analytics from Statista.com, the esports market is promising and rapidly growing, with projections indicating more than five-fold increase by 2032. While there is extensive research on the home advantage in traditional sports, both team-based and individual, we identified a research gap. No prior studies had examined the home advantage in esports. So we choose Counter-Strike as a compelling example of an esports discipline. CS is a series of multiplayer tactical first-person shooters. The earliest esports features of the game can be traced back to CS version 1.6, but the series fully matured into an esports discipline with the, with the release of CSGO, which was primary competitive version from 2012 to 2023. Why did we choose Counter-Strike? It's ranked among the top 3 most popular esports games in previous year, and it is the top 5 disciplines for total tournaments prize pools in esports. Thus, Counter-Strike serves as an excellent representative of esports industry for studying the home advantage. Let's delve into the gameplay mechanics of Counter-Strike. The game involves 2 teams, each with 5 players, competing on different maps. There are 7 competitive maps available in the game, and before the match, team captains or coaches select the map to be played. There are 3 most popular match formats. Best of 1, a single map is selected, and the team that wins the map wins the match. Best of 3, this is the most popular format where maps are chosen, where 3 maps are chosen, and the first team to win 2 maps wins the whole match, and best of 5 with the same logic. How is the winner determined on a map? The team that first wins 16 rounds is declared the winner of the map. What is the round? Is a segment of the match where one team either achieves the map's objective, this is planting or defusing a bomb, or eliminates the whole opposing team. Tournaments can be held in 2 modes. The first one is LAN tournaments. Players are physically present on the area, on stage, often in front of live audience, as shown in the earlier examples with Stew and Fallen, or online tournaments. Players compete remotely with each participant located anywhere in the world. Our hypothesis is that the home advantage factor will be most pronounced during LAN, offline tournaments, where crowd presence plays a significant role of the tournament. The goal of our research is to examine how home advantage influences on individual in-game performance and team level results during matches in CS. I believe everyone here is well known with the concept of home advantage, and I will speak about home advantage factors. In traditional sports, several factors contribute to home advantage, but not all of them apply to Counter-Strike. Crowd factor is one of the most significant and visible factors. Emotional support from fans in close to players can positively impact their performance, and this factor is relevant to esports and LAN tournaments in CS. Adaptation to conditions, this factor is irrelevant in esports because all setups, including desks, computers, headphones, and other equipment are the same for all teams, for all players. Travel factor is relevant for Counter-Strike tournaments, and rules factor, in some sports, specific rules can advantage home teams, like away goals in football in some past. However, this factor doesn't exist in esports all teams equals. There is a lot of researches about home advantage in different sports, in individual sports, in team sports. This slide presents a table summarizing studies on the various individual sports. For instance, Gramin's study on table tennis found that under equal conditions, home advantage had minimal, non-significant impact. Conversely, research on athletics showed that athletes won in home conditions with a probability of more than 50%. As I remember, 60% attributed to factors like audience support and lack of traveling. Some studies explored home advantage in a gender-specific context. According to some research, professional male tennis players exhibited a statistically significant home advantage, whereas no significant effect was observed for women. Regarding studies on team sports, in most cases, researchers concluded that home advantage influences team performance, like in research which analyzed basketball. They analyzed the NBA season 2020-2022. And it was a natural experiment resulting from COVID restrictions. The study revealed that fan support significantly influenced home advantage. Teams with fans in the area played more aggressively and more often. However, certain sports showed no significant effect, like volleyball German league. There is no significant impact of home advantage on the results of teams. Such mixed findings further motivated co-authors and me to examine the impact of home advantage in esports. So we collected data from hltv.org. This is a forum covering esports news, tournaments, and professional CS statistics. This dataset spans approximately 10 years. To assess individual players' performance, we use player rating metrics, which includes opening kills, includes clutch moments, trade deaths, and more. This metric objectively reflects a player's impact and importance of the player on the map. For team performance, we evaluated the round differential between a team and its opponent. Positive difference in rounds indicates a team won the map, and the negative means a team lost. Larger differentials represents greater margins between the winning and the losing teams. This slide also provides some summary statistics of our datasets for individual and team subsamples. In our study, we focused on tournaments held in person with live audience, only LAN tournaments. Home advantage was defined as a situation where the competition took place in the player's home country. All home advantage related variables were created at the country level. In our datasets, approximately 41% of observations involved home advantage. At the team level, we defined home advantage as follows. if at least one player in a team had home advantage, the variable was set to 1. According to this variable, nearly half of the teams in our dataset experienced home advantage. We also created more detailed variables to capture the number of players in a team with home advantage, which result in the second group of binary variables. Similarly, we introduced variables reflecting the home advantage of the opponent team. Interestingly, our dataset included many teams where all players originated from the same country, about 20%. This consistent with the historical context of Counter-Strike, with historical Counter-Strike team formation, where local computer clubs often served as a hub for creating mono-national rosters and making professional Counter-Strike teams. This slide displays the models we are constructed to analyze the effects of home advantage on player level, on individual performance. Dependent variable is players rating. We run several regressions that incorporated control variables and our binary home advantage variable. Additionally, we explored the interactions between home advantage and some other variables to identify potential combined impacts on player performance. Start the slides with our results. Player level. Our findings indicate that home advantage has a significant positive effects on Counter-Strike players' performance, and this effects notably substantial. Typically, players' rating range between 1 and 1.1. For example, rating equals 1.2 or higher is considered excellent performance, while rating below 1 suggests underperformance. Based on our results, playing on home ground improves a player's performance by 0.05 points of rating. This change, though seemingly small, represents a considerable improvement given the narrow range of player ratings. We also identified significant interactions between home advantage and the number of rounds played. The more rounds played on a map, this is a marker that both teams are very closer in the skill levels, and negative interaction between rounds and home advantage indicates that that as teams become more evenly matched, the influence of crowd support on player performance decreases. No significant interaction effects was found between home advantage and player experience. However, we observed that in final matches, the impact of crowd support nearly doubles. This effect is pretty logical, as higher tournament stages attract larger audience, culminating in the finals with the most spectators, and this is true. The effect was doubled. In Model 5, was shown that even when interaction terms are included, they remain statistically significant, confirming the robustness of our interaction findings. Now let's examine the influence of home advantage at the team level. Dependent variable here is round difference. We also include control variables and different home advantage variables. So this is our results, and our findings shows that having home advantage on a team level significantly improves the team's overall performance, and the size of effect is so huge. Given that our dataset consists professional matches at the highest level, all games are highly competitive. The average difference in round in our team subsample was around 0.6 rounds, and teams with the home advantage and maps an average +1 round, which is substantial in the context of professional play. Models 2 and 3, we conducted more detailed analysis of home advantage. The presence of only one player with home advantage doesn't significantly impact on team performance. However, when 2 or 3 players have home advantage in the team, it significantly influences the team results, increasing the number of rounds won by the team. The effect size grows substantially when a team has more than 3 players with home advantage, 4 or 5 players. Additionally, Model 3 reveals that home advantage for opponent teams negatively impacts the performance of the team under study. Next, we built models similar to those used for the individual level, examine the presence of interaction effects. As with the individual level, we identified significant interactions between home advantage and number of rounds, and negative interaction, and positive interaction effects for matches in the final stage of tournaments. We also discovered significant negative. Yes, we also discovered significant negative interaction effects between home advantage and the prize pool size. I try to explain. Larger prize pools tend to attract stronger teams in tournaments, increasing competition of all maps, of all matches. As the prize pool increases, the influence of home advantage on team performance decreases because matches starts to be so competitive, and crowd factor will be less significant. Moreover, these effects may stem from modern tournament practices. Organizers of largest tournaments increasingly isolate players from the crowd by building soundproof cabins. And this slide provides 2 examples of how playing areas can be organized. On the left image, players are seated in the middle of area with no barriers separating them from the crowd, from the audience. And on the right image, players are placed inside soundproof cabins, offering a view from the side, from the inside. These cabins are designed to reduce noise and isolate players from the influence of the crowd, and maybe for some teams, for some players, it can be so significant to sit inside this. Key conclusions of our study. We found clear evidence of home advantage influencing team and player performance in Counter-Strike. At the team level, the magnitude of the home advantage effect increases as the number of players with home advantage on the team grows, especially for teams with 4 or 5 players with home advantage. Interaction effect, positive effect of home advantage during final tournament stages, and negative effects of home advantage as the prize pool size increases, possibly due to soundproof cabins, as a hypothesis. That's all of my presentation. Thanks a lot for an opportunity to present it. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Great, thank you very much, Mikhail. I'm going to give you a team's round of applause. We've got plenty of time for Q&A, which is great. And Georgi has his hand up already, so Georgi, go ahead.
Yes, hello. Mikhail, thank you very much for sharing the presentation. As someone who knows very little about cyber sports, this was definitely very, very new. So my question would be, so do the teams, and again, I know nothing about this, do the teams regularly travel to the tournaments with their own equipment? Because as someone once explained to me, as someone who is like much more proficient in cyber sports, like a lot in especially like shooter games like Counter-Strike, a lot of the outcome, a lot of the variation of the outcome still depends on the ping on computers. So is it up to the host city, nation to provide the equipment, or do they basically travel with their own like computer blocks? Because that would introduce a significant variation in the outcome.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Professional teams in cybersport, especially in Counter-Strike, travels with their own keyboards and mouses, maybe small headphones like on me, but not big, which isolated different sounds from the crowd. But all computers gives by the organizers, and they are the same. They have yeah, they're the same. It's and all teams, all players have enough FPS. It's very important it's very important in Counter-Strike that there will be no lags, no lags, yeah. And all computers provides the situation, and it cannot be an adaptation factor to play on the stage.
Great, thanks, Georgi. So there's no way that a local organizer could tweak the game playing experience for teams involved? Is that basically the point, Mikhail?
I misunderstand. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I was just basically saying that there's no way in which a local organizer can, manipulate the game playing experience in any way. I mean, I I watched my team play football. Last week we played an away game, a tough away game, and the home team put the sprinklers on the pitch before the game began, where my team was, to try and disrupt them. Didn't let them into the stadium until near the kickoff, and all these kinds of little things to make the experience of the away team a lot harder than it would be for the home team. So I wondered if there were ways in which an organizer could make it much more pleasant an experience for the home team relative to the away team in esports events.
I think no, because all games played inside the game, inside Counter-Strike app, and organizers cannot affect on this process.
Yeah. Thank you. More questions and comments from the audience? Georgi.
Yeah, I'm sorry, me again, if no one else has a question, but just quickly, so you code, so I'm wondering what was happening with different countries, because then the mechanism you sort of alluded to is they hear the crowd, and hence they understand that they're cheering them on, perhaps, the home athletes, and then they start playing better, right? So, and especially like, I mean, these are very pronounced impacts, but I wonder to what extent they will shift. Maybe it'll be even more pronounced, especially in the deciding final matches, if you instead code them by language. So, for instance, right. So right now, if say it's a tournament in South America, it's roughly the same language that they're speaking if they're, say, from like Peru and Colombia, but like they can both, the athletes from both countries understand the language. So I'm wondering, have you done any like alternative specification of foreign versus domestic, whether they can understand the language or not, that the home fans are cheering them on?
No, we didn't. I think that for all languages, all teams can understand when the half of area, the half of crowds scanning the team name, like and it cannot depends on the language, I think, as a catch this question.
Okay, thanks, Georgi. Reade.
Yes. So if I understand the setup correctly, the empirical setup, then you have multiple observations in a tournament on one team and multiple observations on one player. So that suggests that there will be some dependence in the scores within tournaments and within teams within tournaments. How did you take this dependence into account when calculating the standard errors?
Sorry, I misunderstand. We have team level, we have player level, and what's the question?
So suppose there's one team from one specific country, then all these players will be affected by home advantage or non-home advantage and some luck. So these observations will be dependent on each other. I would expect some correlation in the error terms of the regression equation that you posted. And then I wondered, how did you take that dependence into account? Or did you?
I think we haven't taken this into account for now. And thank you for your suggestion. I guess we have not so many observations for each team. We will check it. Thank you. And we could try it to do at least for subsample.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reade. Then we've got Alex, followed by Stefan.
Okay, so first Stefan.
No, I've got number two as
Yeah, okay.
you just beat him by a second, maybe less than a second.
I always beat Stefan. No.
Damn. Cheating again.
Here we fight again. I like it. Okay. So I have several. I guess I will refer to the previous question. I'm not sure that the the question was regarding clustering standard errors, right, Ruud? So the question was, did you cluster your standard errors, and if yes, how? So in a simple language. The second thing. So I have several points. First, I really like this idea of investigating this Counter-Strike studies as part of sports economics. In that regard, I would recommend you a new paper in Sports Economics Review, which we are a proud sponsor of this nice series of seminars. So last time we published the last volume, we had this paper, so I will post it now here. Second, you had a tiny mistake in the literature review regarding my paper by mistake. I did find the home advantage in alpine skiing, actually, and you said I did not. I'm not sure you want to cite me after that or not, but it has to be correct. And third, now coming back to your paper, what's the mechanism to this home advantage? How exactly? Because in football we can say, okay, referee bias, okay, let's say, or in biathlon where there is no home advantage, there is disadvantage that's because of pressure. Or I don't know, and in tennis, it's also probably bias of the referees in Journal of Sports Sciences, if I'm not mistaken. But why here? What's going on?
Yeah, thanks for a comment. Sorry for this tiny mistake with literature review. Home advantage in CS is not about referees. Yeah, it's necessary about it's about morality. It's about emotional uplifts of players during the game when they see the crowd which says their names, which has their teams, like Navi. They feels that all audience help for them, and the phrase from the beginning of my presentation of Fallen approves this opinion, that professional cybersports feel it and understand that playing in their own countries are more comfortable for them, and that's it.
But from the psychological point of view, and the psychological literature, once they cheer for you, and they have this is not effort related task. This is precision related task. Am I wrong? This game, this is precision. You don't run, you don't do anything, right? It's shooting. It's doing something precise. And there are lots of studies in psychological literature, and also the biathlon study that shows that actually you should perform worse under such circumstances. That's why I'm asking what. But okay, thank you anyway.
Thanks.
Yeah, there are two effects. The first one is home advantage, and the second is choking under pressure. But in CS, the effect of home advantage is more. I don't know.
But I should say it's not only about shooting precision, it's also about strategy and coordination among players. That's why it possibly be positively affected by a crowd.
How
But
do
if
they
it's I
coordinate?
think if it's coordination, it's the other way around. They disturb you, they bother you. You are distracted by the positive emotions of the crowd. So it's on top of everything should disturb you.
Unfortunately, we can't check exactly the effect of crowd because we don't know the amount of people on the stadium, but still it seems reasonable to assume. But yeah, thank you for your suggestion. We will think about alternative explanations. Okay.
But do they coordinate through their earpieces? Is that how it works? Or do they actually just talk to each other in the arena, or do they send messages to each other?
Players inside one team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can text into each other in the chat, and they are speaking between teammates in TeamSpeak, Discord, or other programs for communicating.
Cool. Thanks. Stefan.
Finally got Alex to shut up. That's for a minute. My suggestion to you would be to try to write this paper in a way in which you can shed light on things that we can't shed light on in other sports contexts, and easier said than done in a lot of cases. But I would have thought that esports there's an opportunity here in esports in the sense that if I'm thinking about how a player performs in a football match, or cricket match, or any kind of other situation where there's a large crowd, it's very hard for me to have a sort of a baseline, a benchmark of what I would expect their performance to be absent the crowd. In the sense, I mean, that's why COVID was such an opportunity in some ways. But really what I'd like to know is how good is a player in the training ground, and how is then their performance affected by being in performing in front of the crowd with home advantage or whatever the psychological impacts there might be. It strikes me that this is more likely to be possible in esports because these are games in which you can play without the crowd in practice, and you can record scores, and so you can have some kind of benchmark sense of how people can perform without the crowd pressure, and then use that as a baseline. And these probably display huge ignorance about how these esports work, and I am very ignorant on this. But I would say I would have thought that there are records of individuals have their own records of how they performed. I don't know if those are publicly accessible or not, but in that sense, some idea of performance outside of the competitive environment might be a good idea. If that makes any sense at all. I don't know.
Mikhail, did you want to respond to the question?
Yeah. However, the most competitive environment, all major tournaments, all major competitions are held offline. Unfortunately, even due to COVID year, there was no big tournaments. They just declined, and we cannot test clearly the hypothesis of crowd effect because there is no tournaments, big tournaments with the most competitive environment.
Yeah, but my point is that you can, maybe I'm wrong about this. You can play CrowdStrike without participating in a tournament. You can just play the game at home, you know, without anybody watching. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you can, but
and when you do that, you'll get a score, right? And the issue is, what's the difference between your score when you just play at home without anybody watching versus when you play in a tournament when you have huge attention? Maybe you just can't get that data. I don't know, but besides me, that's an interesting comparison, which you can't really quantify in all sorts. I can't say, well, how good was how good was Harry Kane on the in training? I have no metric for that. So see how he compares in games compared to in training.
It's interesting. I don't know. Can we collect information about some online training tournaments? But it looks very interesting.
Just a thought.
Thanks, Stefan. Just out of interest, okay, what's the kind of is there some kind of global tour that takes place? And are these these are events where people are traveling from all around the world, or are they more regional events where it's just within a continent or a small grouping of countries? I don't know if you've got any sense of how far people are actually traveling and how global these events are.
We're not testing how many kilometers between the country of player and the place of tournaments. I agree that if you are from Germany and you should travel to France, this is one situation, and when you should travel to play in America is the other situation, but we are not tested on travel factor of home advantage. And thank you. It looks so interesting. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions and comments from the audience? In which case it seems not. So thank you, Mikhail. That was a really interesting presentation, a sport that a lot of us are not very familiar with. So thank you very much for a really interesting introduction to it, a really interesting setting to think about the home advantage, where, as you say, there's no referee mechanism. So we've isolated at least one of the causes that many people associate with the home advantage in other sports. So I wish you well with the remainder of your research for both you and your co-authors. Thank you everyone else also for contributing this week. We will be back again next week when yours truly, I will be presenting, and my title is ELO-based player ratings. And so that will be this time next week, November the 29th. And so I look forward to seeing many of you then. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, Mikhail.